welcome back to another insightful episode of Me and My Health Up. I'm your host, Anthony Hartcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. The purpose of this podcast is to enhance and enlighten your well-being. And today I'll be doing that for you on the topic of lowering cholesterol naturally using food, lifestyle, and supplements. Yes, it is on the back of doing a previous episode 159 on cholesterol. And I was doing a myth-busting episode on cholesterol, and it was a real hit. So I thought, let's do a part two. There's so much we can talk about in terms of cholesterol. And what is it that I'm discussing in this episode that's so different from the first episode? I'm discussing, again, I'm going to touch and reiterate, but also bring up new facts in terms of the myths around cholesterol and the misinformation. And it's what I came across on the weekend was I was talking to some friends and they asked me about dairy and cholesterol. And they asked me about whether they should be consuming skim milk or full cream milk. What was better for them around the management of cholesterol? And after a few questions and better understanding what they're consuming and how much, and then also their lifestyle that supports that and their risk factors, I then gave them some recommendations around the dairy, right? So, and then they were telling me, but my doctor said this, and then, then someone else joined the conversation and they heard that, they shouldn't be having this with, because it's not good for cholesterol and whatnot, like I've heard prawns, avoid prawns, they're, high in cholesterol, avoid butter, avoid cream, all these things, avoid meat and all this sort of stuff because they're not good in terms of cholesterol. So I'm going to share with you some research that I did on the weekend, and I dug deep into this to better understand where the misinformation was coming from. And yes, there is a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of contradictory information. And I think that's where the confusion is the contradictory information. Because this morning I opened up my Apple News app, right? And just checking out the news, and there was an insight around cholesterol. Of course, I've been researching cholesterol, so it feeds me more of what I'm interested in. And so this article was Dr. Michael Mosley spoke out about a publication here in Australia from a respected, nutritionist or dietitian in the area, and gave full fat milk a 6 out of 10. That was their rating, 6 out of 10. Okay. And it was in association to its like healthiness or, whether it's good. So 6 out of 10, Dr. Michael Mosley didn't like that because he likes his full cream milk. And so he then came out in attack or in defense of full cream milk. And so you start looking at this sort of things and you start seeing these professionals, well-respected people in their profession. And I must say, Dr. Michael Mosley, he's a doctor, but he's not a nutritionist or dietitian. However, he does dig into the research, and he is well renowned for the 5 and 2 diet and also the low-calorie diet, the extremely low-calorie diet, and doing that on and off. So irrespective of what they're saying, they'll both not contradicting, but they'll both defending a point of view. So I then looked at, cholesterol, is it serving the body? Does it have a purpose in the body? Yes, it does. We wouldn't produce it if it didn't have a purpose in the body. And as I mentioned in episode 159, it is a lipid. It comes from the lipids, which is from fats, and cholesterol is essential for our cellular health, right? It is in the membrane of our cells, and that membrane, it helps the fluidity of that membrane, allowing, nutrients into the cell so the cell can do its work and perform its functions, and then allow byproducts out or waste products out, okay? So it's really important for that fluidity of the cell. So we do need cholesterol. It also serves our brain. It also helps with important part of repairing damaged tissues or arteries, so it serves the body. It's not as if it's not needed. It is needed. Okay. So it's essential in that point of view. Now, our body manufactures it from acetyl-CoA. Okay. Where does acetyl-CoA come from? Our body breaks down carbohydrates and fats into acetyl-CoA. And then our body then utilizes acetyl-CoA, okay? It can either manufacture sex hormones, it manufactures cholesterol, or it then converts it via glycolysis or the Krebs cycle into energy, okay? So our body can then choose what it needs and what it needs to do with acetyl-CoA. So that's where it comes from. Our body, it's done in the liver, right? And then our cells utilize it. It serves a function in the body. That's clear, okay? It's not redundant. It's not that we don't need it. What we don't need, and it's the same for anything, what we don't need is excess amounts of cholesterol, okay? So cholesterol's harmful in excessive amounts. It's just like anything in excess is harmful to us, right? It becomes toxic to the body, okay? We don't want anything in excess. The body's aim is to maintain balance, homeostasis, okay? It's trying to find that equilibrium, maintain that equilibrium in the body. Our body's doing that. Our mind's searching for equilibrium, balance. Hormones are trying to balance themselves. Our body's always seeking that balance. So when it's unbalanced, that's when it becomes a problem. It can be a deficiency in something or an excess of something. So that's where we get problems, is when we're deficient in something or excessive in something. And in this case, we're talking about excessive amounts of cholesterol. Okay, so high blood cholesterol is what is a concern to your doctor. And because there is a correlation, not causal, right? A correlation between high cholesterol and heart disease. A correlation. It's not causal. It's not saying that high cholesterol will give you heart disease. It's not direct, okay? It's a correlative. It's a correlation between the two, that people with high cholesterol have generally more problems with heart disease. There's an association there, right? But it often becomes really problematic is when you have other contributing risk factors in addition to high cholesterol. So it's not high cholesterol in itself, because there's research out there that contradicts that. That's saying that there were studies that found that people with high LDL cholesterol, the one that's considered bad cholesterol, it's not bad. It's just labeled bad, okay? Anything in excess is bad, okay? So it's just like excessive amounts of sugar, excessive amounts of alcohol, excessive amounts of drugs. Anything in excess is bad because it puts a load on the body. It makes the body struggle, and as a result of that, disease can manifest. So some of the, and this is where the contradictory is. Some studies are showing that high LDL correlates to good heart health or has no impact on heart health, right? And so this is where the contradiction and people are confused about. It's more the contributing factors with high cholesterol that makes you more susceptible to heart disease. So what are those contributing factors in addition to high cholesterol? It is carrying excessive weight, okay, being overweight, okay? So high cholesterol, being overweight, okay? That's a risk factor. High cholesterol, high alcohol consumption, you're consuming excessive amounts of alcohol. What's excessive amounts of alcohol? Anything in excess of one standard drink a day is probably a load on the body, okay? But it doesn't mean that those two factors are then going to drive heart disease. You got a higher risk factor, okay? Higher probability. So what else is there? So excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, so high cholesterol, and some of these all come together. And that's when it's a real ticking time bomb for heart disease, is when you have high cholesterol, high blood cholesterol, you have excessive weight, you're drinking too much, you're smoking too much, okay? And so that combined factor really increases the probability of heart disease, okay? So if you have high cholesterol, and look, there's reasons why you might have high cholesterol. You might have less of the enzyme that breaks it down, and so that you can utilize it better. You might be aging. As we age, we become, our body becomes, I guess, less efficient at doing things, right? So we realize that with aging, we produce less of the enzymes that then convert acetyl-CoA, and your body may be converting too much to cholesterol, and there's probably other things that are causing you to be out of balance. So so there's that aging effect, there's that having less of the enzyme, having too much of the enzyme, all these sort of things can be, contributing, as well as your ethnicity and your genetics. So, does it run in the family? And so people with high cholesterol that are managing the other risk factors have less concern, okay? There's a much lower probability. Okay, so it's more about managing the whole, okay, and less about worrying about just high cholesterol and the associated risk with heart disease or the correlation with heart disease, okay? It's not direct causation. Okay, high cholesterol causes heart disease. It's not that clear. Okay, it's certainly not that clear. So it's more managing the whole picture, and looking after yourself in a holistic way to help your body find the homeostasis, to find its balance, its equilibrium. So doing anything in excess is not going to help. Okay, so as I said, excessive food consumption, which leads to weight gain. The lack of exercise, the deficiency in exercise, which can lead to weight gain. Then you've got excessive alcohol, excessive smoking, excessive drug taking, all these things, excessive stress. Okay, all these things can combine together and put you at higher risk of heart disease. Okay, so it's really important looking at managing it as a whole, as opposed to just thinking, okay, I just need to focus on foods with cholesterol. Now, a Harvard research has shown that dietary cholesterol is only 20%, okay, of the implicating factor on, in terms of having excessive cholesterol. 20%, the 80% is coming from your body producing excessive amounts, okay? So the liver manufactures or breaks down fat into cholesterol, and also you can bring it in through your diet. But it's saying that the dietary influence is only 20%, okay? So it's, 1/5. Okay. So what are the dietary concerns? It's animal fats. Okay. So consuming excessive amounts of animal fats. Okay. And then the other thing that contradicts this is I looked at, okay, how much dietary cholesterol should you consume? And then there was a recommendation from the Food and Drug Administration in the US, and they recommended 300 milligrams of cholesterol consumption per day. But then they're saying that's not so important. What's more important is consuming less saturated fats, less sugars, and less trans fats. Okay. And then that was backed up by the Therapeutic Goods Administration here in Australia. Okay. So they've turned their attention away from dietary influences on cholesterol, direct dietary influences, so foods that are high in cholesterol, to foods that are high in saturated fats, foods that are high in trans fats, and foods that are high in sugar. Okay, so that's been the shift in terms of these administrative bodies. Okay, so they're saying be less concerned about the dietary intake of cholesterol and be more focused on the dietary intake of saturated fats and the dietary intake of sugars and the dietary intake of trans fats. Now, to put it into context, getting back to the full cream milk, I looked up a glass of full cream milk, okay? A glass of full cream milk. How much does it contain cholesterol? Full cream, 26 milligrams of cholesterol in a glass of milk. Okay, that's less than 1/10 of what was suggested as the dietary intake per day. I don't think many people out there are going to consume 10 glasses of milk per day. So don't be concerned about consuming full cream milk unless you're consuming full cream milk in excess. Okay. Now, the other question that gets thrown at me is, what about eggs? They're high in cholesterol. Now, let me close off full cream milk. With full cream milk, the cream or the fat contains the fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, okay? All the fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin K has been associated with good heart health. Vitamin D has been associated with good heart health, okay? So you're stripping out the fat from milk, you're taking out the fat-soluble vitamins. And some of these fat-soluble vitamins have a positive effect on the heart, okay? And the other thing is, when you take away the vitamin D out of milk, you reduce the uptake of calcium into the body, because vitamin D helps the uptake of calcium into the body. Okay. Nature provides everything in full packages. That's why it is recommended to eat whole foods, because nature wraps it up in a bundle to help us, to aid us, to support us, to nourish us. When we start processing things and over processing things, stripping things out, we ruin that perfect bundle. And so we inhibit or reduce the uptake of calcium by stripping out the fat from milk. So you get me? This is so confusing. Okay. But so if you get back to the basics, yes, okay to consume dairy provided you're not lactose intolerant. Okay. Then there's a concern if you're lactose intolerant. However, if you're not lactose intolerant, and you like milk, have full cream milk, but just don't have it in excess. That's the problem, is in excess. Okay. And I was talking in excess, 10 glasses of milk per day, right? That's a lot to get even close to the daily recommended intake of cholesterol and not to exceed that. Okay. So now I digressed back to eggs. Okay. Egg. Guess how much an egg has in terms of cholesterol? And the cholesterol in eggs are in the yolk. Okay. So it's not in the egg white. So if you're really concerned, you can separate the egg yolk from the egg white. But the egg yolk has lots of benefits as well. Okay. And things that support the heart. Okay. So this is the thing. It's sort of like you strip nature out and start ripping apart nature and separating it. You start losing the complete package that really helps us. So again, you just take the egg white. The egg white is protein, but the egg yolk has the good fats as well as the fats you need less of. Okay. And it's not that you don't need them. Your body does need cholesterol. It doesn't need excessive amounts of it. Now, how much is in a whole egg? 186 milligrams. Okay, so it's just over half the daily recommended intake. Okay, so you have 2 eggs a day. You're within the recommended daily intake. So what do, the PhD nutritionists recommend in terms of eggs? They recommend 1 per day, so 7 per week. Will keep you in a safe and I guess not excessive amount of consumption of anything. And that's probably about right. I mean, if you think about but then again, if you were having 2 eggs a day and reducing the other risk factors that I mentioned or managing them really well, such as reducing your stress, making sure you keep a slim waistline and not over-consuming food, not over-consuming fats, not over-consuming sugar. You're not over-consuming alcohol, not smoking. All these sort of things are really going to help support you manage cholesterol because your body knows how to keep it moderate, how to maintain a homeostasis that's okay for the body. And again, everyone's different. Some bodies need a bit more cholesterol. That's the genetic profile, right? I produce a bit more higher than normal cholesterol. That's my genetic profile. But I manage all the other risk factors, okay? And so I'm not concerned about heart disease at all. And yes, I consume eggs. I don't consume full cream milk just simply because I don't like it, okay? But it's not that I don't say that my clients shouldn't have it. If they like it, then have it in moderation. Have eggs in moderation. Now, let's get to the things that can really, like the foods and lifestyle that can really support the management of cholesterol. The foods, phytosterols, okay, which are plant cholesterols. Yes, okay. Cholesterol is a sterol. Cholesterol, in terms of what we're talking about, in terms of dietary, how it comes into the diet is through animal products. So any animal product, any meat, dairy, okay, contains amount of cholesterol. Excessive consumption of meat and dairy is not recommended anyway. Excessive consumption of anything is not recommended. Everything in moderation is okay, but it really comes down to the individual in terms of what they can tolerate, what works for them. So in terms of what can help, in terms of limit or restrict the absorption of animal cholesterol into your body is phytosterols. And this is what they add to margarine. This is what they add to Wheat Bix, okay? And this is why the Wheat Bix company says these Wheat Bixes are great for reducing your cholesterol. They add something to it. They add phytosterols. It's just like having a supplement. It's not the Wheat Bix. It's not the Wheat Bix. It's what they add to the Wheat Bix. What they fortify the Wheat Bix with is that phytosterol that they add. And what the research says, you need somewhere between 2 and 5 grams. I think the optimum range is somewhere between 3 and 5. And these companies add anywhere between 2 and 3 grams. And they can claim that it's cholesterol lowering. But it's what they add. It's fortified. So yes, they add it to Wheat Bix. They add it to muesli bars. They add it to margarine. It's not the margarine itself, okay? So don't get carried away with the marketing and the propaganda that says this is cholesterol lowering. Remember, the Harvard said, dietary intake of cholesterol is only really 20% of the problem, okay? It's the other 80% that we need to be more concerned about. It's helping support the liver, and living a balanced lifestyle and eating moderately and eating a wide variety of foods is really going to support the body to maintain homeostasis, as well as managing your stress. Okay. So in terms of foods that are high in plant sterols, like your oils, your vegetable oils, your seed oils, your olive oil, they all have high amounts of phytosterols. It's, again, plant-based cholesterol. And how it helps the body is it competes with the absorption of animal cholesterol. Okay, so they compete, and so therefore less animal cholesterol is absorbed in the intestines and more is excreted. So it just helps with limiting the uptake of dietary cholesterol into your body. But as I said, Harvard, in terms of its research, has said it's only really 20% of the contributing factor is dietary cholesterol. As I said, the FDA, the TGA, these governing bodies have said more focus on reducing your amounts of saturated fats. Okay, saturated fats come from fast foods, sugars come from fast foods, and trans fats come from fast foods. So reduce takeaway consumption. You already knew that. Limit takeaway consumption. Limit highly processed intake of foods. Limit that. Make more of your own foods. Okay, and then you're going to reduce the amount of concern in terms of having excessive amounts of cholesterol and your body struggling to manage that. Manage your stress, okay? Managing your stress helps with thyroid function. Thyroid governs the rate at which our cells metabolize fat, okay? If we've got a healthy thyroid, we're managing our stress. That also, managing the stress helps support the liver. When our body's working well, it can find equilibrium. It can get you in a steady state. Your steady state might be slightly higher than normal. That's genetic, okay? What the concern is if your cholesterol's racing up and you've got the other risk factors, then that's a major concern. And that's when certainly you want to contemplate certainly getting further support, whether it be through the drug, the statin drug, and or getting lifestyle support, nutrition support, and doing the whole package. So I think the key takeaway from all of this is empowering yourself. So yes, the doctors are informed by drug companies. The drug companies share their research. The drug companies share research that supports them prescribing statins. Okay, that's the only research they're going to show to doctors. They're not going to show the contradictory research to doctors, okay? So it's up to the doctors to then really dig deep, and if they've got the time to dig deep, to find out whether the drug company's sharing a balanced perspective or whether they're sharing a one-sided perspective. The drug companies share a one-sided perspective. Of course, they want to sell drugs. Their motive is to sell drugs, okay? The doctor's motive is to look after you, but if they've only got information from one side, then obviously they're going to have a bias to that one side. Okay, some doctors do seek additional education beyond the drug reps educating them about the pharmaceuticals, and those doctors are more informed, and they're the doctors that can really support you in a more holistic way. If you're just getting one side of the equation, then seek to empower yourself. Seek to research yourself. And if you're getting confused with what you're reading and it's just too out of your limits, then seek professional help. See a dietitian or a nutritionist that can help you, or an integrative GP that is also empowered in the other side of supporting their clients, not just in terms of drugs. Okay. So really empower yourself, because through the empowerment of education, you can make more informed decisions about what's best for your body. When we're disempowered, that's when we've got the lack of choice, because we're putting the power in other people's hands. And depending on how empowered they are, well, it might limit the effectiveness of addressing the root cause. I mean, the question you want to be asking yourself, why do you have high cholesterol? If you look at your diet, you might not even be consuming much cholesterol. And then so you might want to look at the other risk factors. Are you managing your stress? Okay. If you're not managing your stress, then getting support to manage your stress. If you're not moving your body, then getting support to help you move your body. Okay. So moving our body, again, it helps the body establish equilibrium. We need to move. We were designed to move. Our bodies were designed to move around, and inactiveness is really affecting our body. It makes it sluggish. It doesn't work as effective. And you'll see this time and time again with your digestive system. how much better your digestive system works when you move your body. Okay. So are you exercising? What are you doing around alcohol consumption? Are you sticking to one standard drink a night, or you're drinking in excess? Then maybe get some support in that area. Are you smoking? You want to quit smoking. It's a leading indicator for all disease. Smoking is terrible. Are you taking excessive amounts of drugs? Again, that's putting a load on the liver. It impairs liver function. Liver doesn't work as efficiently, and hence might be producing too much of one thing and not enough of the other. Okay, so we want to support the body to maintain homeostasis. The best way we can do that is have a balanced lifestyle, have a balanced diet, eating whole foods, eating a range of foods, and not excluding food groups and then indulging in other food groups. So like something that's not going to support you in terms of the management of cholesterol is the keto diet. It's a high-fat diet, okay? And FDA, TGA recommends reducing fat consumption, okay? So again, you've got to be putting things into context, get empowered, understand what you're doing to your body. So making sure you're not doing dieting that's not supporting the management of your cholesterol. Have more inclusive diets, more broader range diets, more range of foods, but moderation of everything, okay, is the best approach. If you want further support, then you can certainly reach out for me. I'm a fully qualified clinical nutritionist and would be happy to tailor food and lifestyle medicine to your health goals. Thanks for listening to this episode. Please leave any comments or share if you've got any further confusion. I'm happy to do a part 3 of this to help empower you to make informed decisions for your body. Thank you for your ears, and stay tuned for more insightful episodes of Me and My Health Up. Podcast disclaimer. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it do not constitute medical, healthcare, or professional advice and are provided for general information purposes only. All care is taken in the preparation of the information in this podcast. Connected Wellness Proprietary Limited, operating under the brand Me and My Health Up, does not make any representations or give any warranties about its accuracy, reliability, completeness, or suitability for any particular purpose. This podcast and any information, advice, opinions, or statements within it are not to be used as a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, psychiatric, or any other mental health care or healthcare in general. Me and My Health Up recommends you seek the advice of a doctor or qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Inform your doctor of any changes that you may to your lifestyle and discuss these with your doctor. Do not disregard medical advice or delay visiting a medical professional because of something you hear in this podcast. This podcast has been carefully prepared on the basis of current information. Changes in circumstances after publication may affect the accuracy of this information. To the maximum extent permitted by the law, Me and My Health Up disclaims any such representations or warranties to the completeness, accuracy, merchantability, or fitness for purpose of this podcast and will not be liable for any expenses, losses, damages incurred, indirect or consequential damages or costs that may be incurred as a result of the information being inaccurate or incomplete in any way and for any reason. No part of this podcast can be reproduced, redistributed, published, copied, or duplicated in a form without prior permission of Me and My Health Up.